Good evening, everyone. I'm going to do a quick video tonight. I got a friend from work who's having some issues with his GBA games. He's got a Pokemon Emerald game that needs a new battery, and he wanted to test on the cheaper Ruby version, but he wasn't able to do it. He says the battery he got, the tabs are too small, so we're just going to do a really quick video to show you how to solder in a battery like this, even when the terminals are a little bit shorter than they should be. We're going to make this really quick, just because all I'm going to do is replace the battery. I've already looked at the board. I've seen there's a bridge on some of the pins on the SRAM chip, but we're going to leave that for him to work on. All we're going to work on is this battery here. Zoom down a little bit. That looks pretty good. You can see the blob, the bridge right there on those pins, but like I said, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to worry about doing this right here. Now, the text is the positive side. It also says a positive sign there, and then if you look on the bottom, it's a little textured side there, that is a negative. When we look on the board, you can see a little plus, or the negative sign up here in the top right, and there's a positive sign down here in the bottom left one. So we want it oriented this way, so that negative is going up there. Whoop, can't see through my finger. Negative up there in the top right, positive on the bottom left there. And you can see that the negative tab is nice and easy. It goes down there on the board, touches really easily, but the positive tab doesn't quite touch the bottom there. What we're gonna do, grab you some twisted wire, or any kind of wire you have left over. I've got a Cat 5 cable I've cut up. We're gonna use a little piece out of this. We're just gonna strip off some of the plastic on here. Twist it together so it's easier to work with. And then, you know, copper, nice and flexible. We don't want this flexible. What we're going to try and do is just kind of tack that copper wire down on the board and try and go through the hole. Soldering iron's already good to go. Let's tin this wire. Easy way to do this. Hold it with your two fingers like this, and then use your index and thumb to hold the solder. Wet your tip, just like that. And then bring the soldering iron to the copper, and then bring the solder to the copper, and then just flow it forward. And now your tip is nice, or your wire is nice and tinned. And I'll go ahead and trim this off. I don't need this entire piece. Just something easy to work with. Bend it over so I can see it. And then we're just going to kind of position it straight up. You can't quite see, so if I hold like this, should be okay. Yep, so kind of want to go straight up on it. Just touch the pad to the solder or to the wire. Let that cool. And it's gone nice and solid. And now we'll trim it again, long enough that it's definitely going to be able to go through the hole, and then we can trim it again afterwards. I am going to kind of straighten out the negative side there. Yeah, just so it goes around the pins on the ROM. So just straighten that out. You can use any kind of tools that you want. I'm just using my snips right here. I may end up trimming this leg down as well. We'll see once it gets down in there. So kind of like that, pointed down. We want it to be pointing down more than straight, because once it actually touches the board, a little pop there, you can push up on the board. So run the positive through the hole over here, just like that. And then we can see that the negative is touching the side over there. Now, easy thing to do here. Grab a little flux, get a little flux on your negative side there. Flux just helps the solder that's already there flow, and this blob is already pretty good on the negative side, so I don't want to add any more. I really want to add any more solder. And then line it up again, make sure it's nice and clean, and then just touch it with your soldering iron and push down. The negative side is usually pretty thick because it is the ground plane, so it takes a little bit more heat, a couple extra seconds, and boom, good to go. That's nice and solid. Now the wire is still running through our positive hole right there. All we need to do is bring your soldering iron to the tab and the wire at the same time, and then you're gonna bring your solder into the tab and wire. You really don't want to wet the tip and then just bring the tip in. That's not really gonna make a good joint, but you wanna make sure that the plane and the wire that you're trying to actually solder to is heated. So touch the tab and the wire, and then bring the solder in. Just like that. And it's good to go. We'll zoom in a little bit. You can see that joint is nice and good. And then you can see the negative also nice and good. Now, you get this little piece of wire sticking up there on that tab. You just take your snips, your flush cutters, whatever you want to call them, trim that right off, boom, good to go. Like I said, the bridge, we're gonna leave that, that's for him to fix, but this is just a quick video to show you that even if the tabs are a little bit short on your battery, you can still make it work.